Don't touch me. Miranda Shaw yanked both hands behind her back. The black man's hand hung in the air between them. 600 tech executives went silent. I don't shake hands with people who probably can't spell algorithm, she said, stepping backward, eyes scanning him head to toe. Security really needs to check badges more carefully. Anyone can just walk in here now. She had no idea. The man she just humiliated controlled $3.2 billion. He was the only investor who could save her dying company. What happened next destroyed everything she built in exactly 72 hours. Drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The hand hung in the air for exactly 4 seconds. Marcus Whitfield had extended it the way he'd extended it 1,000 times before, firm, confident professional. He'd built a $3.2 billion venture capital fund on handshakes just like this one. Deals worth hundreds of millions had started with his palm meeting someone else's. But Miranda Shaw looked at his hand like he'd offered her garbage. Don't touch me. Her voice carried across the ballroom. Sharp, cold, disgusted. Marcus didn't move. His hand stayed exactly where it was. Steady, patient. I'm sorry, he said. You heard me. Miranda pulled both hands behind her back. I don't shake hands with people who probably can't spell algorithm. The ballroom went silent. 600 tech executives turned to stare. Champagne glasses froze halfway to lips. Conversations died mid-sentence. Marcus lowered his hand slowly. Very slowly. He'd learned a long time ago that sudden movements made people like Miranda nervous. Made them call security faster. I apologize if he began. You apologize. Miranda laughed. It wasn't a warm laugh. It was the kind of laugh that made people small. Do you even know where you are? This is a conference for actual investors, real money, not diversity theater. She waved her hand dismissively, like shooing a fly. Move! You're blocking my view of the stage. Marcus adjusted his cufflinks. Tom Ford, $500. She didn't notice. Good luck with your presentation today, Ms. Shaw, he said quietly. Then he turned and walked away. Unhurried, dignified, every step measured. Behind him, Miranda's laugh echoed through the ballroom. Did you see that? She said to her circle of executives. The audacity. This is exactly why we maintain standards at Nexatech. Her CFO, Daniel Patterson, touched her elbow. Miranda, I think that might have been... I don't care who he thinks he is. She drained her champagne. Real investors dress like professionals. 30 feet away, 3 venture capitalists huddled together. One of them was typing frantically on his phone. Oh no, he whispered. What? I just Googled him. His face went pale. That's Marcus Whitfield. Whitfield, as in Whitfield Ventures. $3.2 billion under management. Forbes Midas list 3 years running. The second VC's mouth fell open. Isn't Nexatech looking for $180 million? Whitfield could write that check without blinking. They looked across the room. Miranda was laughing, holding court completely oblivious. She's done, the third VC said quietly. Nobody's going to touch that company now. 48 hours earlier, Marcus Whitfield stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his Austin penthouse. Morning sun painted the University of Texas campus gold below. His French press sat cooling on the marble counter. Bloomberg terminals blinked with real-time market data across 3 mounted screens. His phone buzzed. David Chen, managing partner, calling. Morning, David. The Nexatech file just hit your inbox. The conference is Friday. They're desperate. Marcus scrolled through the report on his tablet. Revenue projections declining. Cash reserves critical. Board pushing for emergency funding. How desperate? He asked. 45 days until they fold. They need $180 million to survive. We're the only fund still taking meetings. Marcus set down the tablet, walked to the window. Why did everyone else pass? Leadership concerns. The CEO, Miranda Shaw. She's got a reputation: difficult, demanding, high turnover in her executive team. What kind of turnover? David paused. Let me put it this way. In 4 years, she's had 11 different VPs of engineering, 8 marketing directors. The average tenure for a person of color at Nexatech is 7 months. Marcus said nothing. The tech is solid, David continued. Their AI platform is genuinely innovative. Patent portfolio is strong. But the leadership? Send me everything. Employee reviews, Glassdoor comments, any discrimination complaints. Already attached. It's not pretty, Marcus. Marcus ended the call, opened the file, started reading. 2 hours later, he'd seen enough. 17 former employees had filed complaints with HR, all dismissed. 12 of them were people of color. The complaints told the same story over and over, passed over for promotions paid less than white colleagues told they weren't culture fit. One complaint stood out. A black woman named Jasmine Torres, former marketing manager. She'd written, Ms. Shaw told me in my first week that I needed to tone down my style. She said my natural hair was distracting and unprofessional. When I complained to HR, I was fired 2 weeks later. They said I wasn't a cultural fit. I had the highest performance ratings on my team. Marcus closed the file. He should pass. Every instinct told him to pass. The numbers were bad. The leadership was worse. This had failure written all over it. But he'd built Whitfield Ventures on second chances, on believing people could change, on giving opportunities to companies others dismissed. Maybe Miranda Shaw wasn't as bad as the file suggested. Maybe the complaints were exaggerated. Maybe she'd grown. He picked up his phone, called David back. I'm going to the conference, he said. You sure? People show you who they really are when they think you have nothing to offer. I want to see who Miranda Shaw really is. You're going to dress down, aren't you? Marcus smiled. Black t-shirt, jeans, no badge on a lanyard. You're testing her. I'm giving her a chance to pass. Miranda Shaw stepped out of her Tesla in the Fairmont Hotel's underground garage at 7:43 a.m. Her assistant Bethany trailed behind, juggling 3 coffees and a presentation binder. Her heels clicked against concrete as she struggled to keep up. Did you confirm the investor meetings? Miranda asked without looking back. Yes, but what? Some of the VCs canceled this morning. They said scheduling conflicts. Miranda stopped walking. Her jaw tightened. Who canceled? Bethany's voice shook. Sequoia, Andreessen, Benchmark. 3 of the biggest names in Silicon Valley. All gone. Just like that. Miranda's hands trembled slightly as she took her latte. She looked at the foam art, frowned. This is oat milk. I said almond. I'm sorry, I thought. You thought. Miranda thrust the cup back. I don't pay you to think. I pay you to listen. Do it again. Bethany's face fell. The barista is right there. I don't pay you to make excuses either. Bethany took the cup, walked back toward the coffee stand. Her shoulders were shaking. Miranda checked her phone. 7 missed calls from Daniel Patterson, her CFO. She ignored them. He'd been warning her about the cash situation for months, talking about layoffs, cost cuts, runway. She didn't want to hear it. Nexatech had been unstoppable 4 years ago. $900 million valuation. Cutting-edge AI platform. Magazine covers. Conference keynotes. Everyone wanted a piece of Miranda Shaw's genius. But competitors had caught up. Clients had left. The board had started asking hard questions she couldn't answer. She needed this conference. Needed new investors. Needed them to believe the pivot story she'd crafted. Needed $180 million to survive. The ballroom was filling when she arrived. Suits. Startup founders in hoodies. Venture capitalists scanning the room for the next unicorn. Her executive team clustered near the bar. 8 people. All white. all nervous. The presentation deck is loaded, her CMO said. 45 minutes, then Q&A. The journalist from TechCrunch is in the third row. Good. Make sure she sees the revenue projections on slide 12. Miranda, about those numbers. They're accurate, forward-looking. Investors understand growth metrics. Her CMO exchanged a glance with Daniel. Neither spoke. A conference organizer approached with a clipboard. Young woman, eager, nervous. Ms. Shaw, we're so honored to have you. Just a reminder, we have several major funds represented here today. Make sure you network during the cocktail hour. I always do. Miranda scanned the room. Anyone I should know about? Well. The organizer lowered her voice. There's a mystery investor who requested privacy. Very influential. His fund controls billions. Miranda's interest sharpened. Name? He prefers to stay low profile until the keynote tomorrow. I don't even know what he looks like. He doesn't do photos. Point him out when he arrives. I'm not sure I'd recognize him honestly. Miranda waved her off. Real power announces itself. You can always tell money. The watch, the shoes, the suit. She accepted a champagne flute from a passing waiter, scanned the room again. Sequoia had canceled. Andreessen had canceled. Benchmark had canceled. But someone big was here. Someone who could write a $180 million check. Someone who could save everything. She just had to find him. Marcus arrived at the ballroom at 2:47 p.m. No entourage, no business cards ready, no badge on a lanyard. Just a black man in a black t-shirt and dark jeans walking quietly through the crowd. He'd learned a long time ago that the best deals happened when people didn't know who you were, when they couldn't calculate your net worth from your watch, when they had to treat you like a human being instead of a checkbook. He spotted Miranda immediately. She was holding court near the stage. Loud laugh. Dismissive gestures toward her assistant. Surrounded by executives who laughed at every joke, nodded at every opinion. Marcus watched her for a full minute. The way she talked over people. The way she never made eye contact with the waitstaff. The way she touched her assistant's arm, not gently but possessively, like she owned her. His phone buzzed. Text from David. Did you see her leadership team composition? Marcus had seen 8 executives, all white, in the most diverse tech region in America. He'd almost passed on this deal already. But everyone deserved the benefit of the doubt. Everyone deserved a chance to show who they really were. He straightened his shirt, walked toward her circle. The networking reception hummed around him. Conversations about valuations, market disruptions, exit strategies. Marcus moved through the crowd with practiced ease. He'd been studying Nexitech for 3 weeks. Good technology. Terrible leadership. The question was whether the terrible leadership could be fixed. Miranda's voice carried across the room. And that's why we don't waste time on... She stopped mid-sentence. Her eyes landed on Marcus, scanned his black t-shirt, his jeans, his lack of a conference badge. Her CMO noticed him too, smiled politely. Excuse me, can you bring us more champagne? The circle went quiet. Marcus smiled. I'm actually here for the conference. Awkward silence. Someone coughed. Oh, the CMO's face reddened. Sorry, I thought... Miranda didn't apologize. She turned back to her conversation, dismissing Marcus with her posture, like he wasn't worth acknowledging. Marcus waited a moment, then cleared his throat gently. Ms. Shaw, I've been following Nexitech's Q3 pivot. Impressive move into healthcare data. Miranda's shoulders stiffened. She turned slowly. Eyes narrowed. And you are? Marcus Whitfield. He extended his hand. Firm. Confident. Professional. I work in venture capital. Miranda's gaze traveled from his face to his outstretched hand. She looked at it like he'd offered her something diseased. She didn't move. Instead, she placed both hands deliberately behind her back, stepped backward, her nose wrinkled. I don't shake hands with people who probably can't spell algorithm. The circle froze. Champagne glasses stopped halfway to lips. Marcus's hand remained extended. Steady. Patient. Miranda continued. This conference has really lowered its standards. Security should check badges more carefully. Anyone can just walk in off the street now. A few executives shifted uncomfortably. One looked at his phone. Another suddenly needed a refill. I apologize if, Marcus began. You apologize. Miranda's laugh was ice. Let me guess. Diversity hire at some mid-tier fund? They gave you a fancy title and sent you to network. Daniel touched her elbow. Miranda, maybe we should... She shook him off. I'm sure you're very articulate, she said. But Nexatech requires sophisticated investors, people who understand complex financial instruments. Marcus slowly lowered his hand. His face remained calm, pleasant even. Where did you go to school? Miranda asked. Community college online program. MIT, actually. Miranda snorted. Right. And I'm sure that's where you learned to crash professional events. She waved her hand dismissively, like shooing a fly. Can you move? You're blocking my view of the stage. The conference organizer rushed over, face flushed with panic. Ms. Shaw, I was just about to introduce, I don't need introductions to party crashers. Miranda cut her off. She pulled out her phone, held it up. Should I call security, or will he leave on his own? Around them, phones emerged from pockets. Recording lights blinked red. Marcus adjusted his cufflinks. Tom Ford, $500. Miranda didn't notice. I understand completely, Marcus said. His voice was steady, calm. I hope your presentation goes well, Ms. Shaw. He turned, walked away, unhurried, dignified. Behind him, Miranda laughed loudly. Did you see that? The audacity. This is exactly why we maintain hiring standards at Nexatech. Her circle laughed with her. Nervous laughter, uncomfortable laughter, the kind of laughter people use when they're afraid to disagree. 30 feet away, Marcus stopped, pulled out his phone, typed a message to David. Cancel the Nexatech deal, full stop. The reply came instantly. What happened? I'll explain later. Just kill it. You sure the tech is solid? Marcus looked back across the ballroom. Miranda was holding her champagne high, laughing about something completely unaware that her $180 million lifeline had just evaporated. Whitfield Ventures doesn't invest in companies with toxic leadership. Understood. Marcus closed his phone. He'd stay for the conference. He was scheduled to give tomorrow's keynote. The organizers had asked him to talk about ethical investing. He had some new thoughts on that topic now. Across the room, Miranda's voice carried again. The problem with tech today is everyone thinks they deserve a seat at the table, but some of us actually earned it. Applause from her circle. Marcus said nothing, just watched. The countdown had begun. 72 hours until everything she'd built came crashing down, and she had no idea. The first tweet went live at 3:12 p.m. Sarah Chen, tech journalist for The Verge, had been standing 12 feet away when it happened. Her phone had been recording before Miranda even opened her mouth. She typed quickly, fingers trembling with the kind of excitement journalists live for. Just watched a tech CEO refuse to shake hands with a black investor at the AI summit. She literally backed away from him. Called security. Questioned his education. Full video coming. This is bad. She hit post. Within 30 seconds, 17 people had retweeted it. Within a minute, 43. Within 5 minutes, the video was uploading. 2 minutes and 17 seconds of Miranda Shaw destroying her own life. Sarah watched the view counter climb. 1,000, 5,000, 20,000. Her colleague leaned over her shoulder. You're posting that now before we verify who he is. Someone will figure it out. Sarah refreshed the page. 50,000 views. This is going to blow up. She had no idea how right she was. Across the ballroom, Miranda was still networking, still laughing, still completely oblivious to the digital wildfire spreading with her name attached to it. She'd moved to a new group, older investors, white men in expensive suits, the kind of men who'd funded her company from the beginning, the kind of men who'd never questioned whether she belonged. Too many companies are lowering the bar in the name of diversity, Miranda was saying. Nexitech succeeds because we hire the best, period. Absolutely, one of them agreed. Merit matters. Exactly. Miranda sipped her champagne. I just had to deal with someone who clearly didn't belong here. You have to maintain boundaries. Otherwise, anyone thinks they can just walk up and waste your time. The men nodded, murmured agreement. Bethany approached phone screen facing out. Her face was pale. Her hands were shaking. Miranda, you need to see this. Not now. Miranda didn't look. I'm networking. But it's important. There's a video. I said not now. Bethany stepped back. Her eyes were wet. She knew what was coming. She'd seen the video. She'd seen the comments. She'd seen what people were saying about her boss. But Miranda Shaw didn't listen to assistants. Miranda Shaw didn't listen to anyone. So Bethany said nothing, just watched, and waited. 200 feet away in the hotel's business center, Marcus Whitfield sat alone. His phone had exploded. Notifications cascading faster than he could read them. Text messages, emails, missed calls. His name was trending on Twitter alongside Miranda Shaw's. He opened the app. The video had 2.3 million views. 47 minutes old, comments flooding in by the thousands. She literally called security on him for asking a question. The way she said people like that made my skin crawl. This is what racism looks like in Silicon Valley, exposed. And he stayed so calm. That composure, that dignity. I could never. Marcus scrolled through them, his jaw tight, his chest heavy. This wasn't what he wanted. He'd walked away to avoid a scene, to maintain his dignity, to not give her the satisfaction of seeing him angry. But the cameras had caught everything, and now the world was watching. His phone buzzed. David Chen calling. I just saw the video, David said. Marcus, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? I'm fine. You don't sound fine. Marcus was quiet for a moment. I've been dealing with people like Miranda Shaw my entire life, David. This isn't new. It's just public. The comments are overwhelming, 99% supportive. People are calling her out, hard. I saw. Forbes wants a statement, so does Bloomberg, CNN, The New York Times. No statements, not yet. Marcus. I don't want to make this about me. I don't want to be the story. You already are the story. The video has 3 million views now. 3 million in less than an hour. Marcus closed his eyes. What about Nexitech's stock? Down 8% in the last 20 minutes. And dropping. The employees, the ones who filed complaints, they're going to start talking. They already are. David's voice was grave. I've seen 4 threads on Twitter in the last 10 minutes. Former employees, all people of color, all telling the same story. Marcus opened Twitter again, found the first thread. A black woman named Jasmine Torres, former marketing manager, the same woman whose complaint he'd read in the due diligence file. I worked at Nexitech for 8 months. Miranda Shaw called me articulate in my first meeting. Asked if I was a cultural fit at least 5 times. I was paid $27,000 less than my white colleague who started the same day. Same role, same qualifications. The thread continued. When I asked for equal pay, they said my communication style wasn't leadership material. I have a master's degree from Stanford. My colleague had a bachelor's from a state school. When I complained to HR, I was fired 2 weeks later. They said I wasn't a cultural fit. That phrase, it's code. Everyone knows what it means. 43 more tweets, each one more damning than the last. screenshots of emails, performance reviews, pay stubs showing the disparity in black and white. Other former employees joined in. Kevin Park, Asian American engineer, passed over for promotion 5 times despite top performance reviews. Miranda told me Asians are good at executing, not leading. She said it to my face, in front of my entire team. When I complained, she said I was being too sensitive. Diego Reyes, Latino developer, paid $35,000 less than his white colleague. When I asked for equal pay, they said my communication style wasn't leadership material. I have a master's from UT Austin, perfect English, born in Texas, but I wasn't culture fit. The pattern was overwhelming, undeniable. Marcus closed the app. David, I need you to do something. Anything. Find these people, Jasmine Torres, Kevin Park, Diego Reyes, anyone else who's speaking out. Quietly reach out. Let them know Whitfield Ventures supports them. If they need legal resources, we'll help. You want to fund their lawsuits. I want to make sure they have options. What Miranda Shaw did to them, it's not right, and it's not over. I'll make the calls. Marcus hung up, looked out the window at the Austin skyline. He'd come here to evaluate an investment, to give Miranda Shaw the benefit of the doubt, to see who she really was. Now he knew, and so did the world. Back in the ballroom, the conference organizer took the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin the main presentations in 10 minutes. Please take your seats. Miranda strode to the front row, confident, in control, ready to save her company with the perfect pitch. She had no idea she'd already destroyed it. Her phone sat in her bag, silenced. 27 missed calls from board members, 63 text messages, 512 Twitter mentions. The video had gone viral, 8.4 million views, and climbing. Miranda stepped onto the stage, adjusted the microphone, smiled at the crowd. The applause was scattered. Weak. Half the seats were empty. She frowned, leaned toward her CMO in the front row. Where did everyone go? Bathroom break, probably. But her CMO wouldn't meet her eyes. The screen behind Miranda lit up. Nexatech logo. Bold tagline. AI intelligence for tomorrow's leaders. Good afternoon, Miranda began. I'm Miranda Shaw, and I'm here to tell you why Nexatech is the future of enterprise AI. In the third row, Sarah Chen typed rapidly on her laptop. Her article was already half written. The headline, Nexatech CEO's racist outburst, caught on camera company in freefall. Miranda clicked to her second slide. Revenue projections showing aggressive growth. As you can see, we're positioned for 300% expansion over the next 18 months. Our healthcare data platform has secured partnerships with a hand shot up in the back. Young investor, South Asian woman in a sharp blazer. Yes, Miranda pointed at her. Can you speak to your diversity metrics? I noticed your leadership team is entirely, we hire the best talent. Miranda's tone sharpened. Nexatech succeeds because we focus on merit, not quotas. We don't do diversity theater. Uncomfortable shifting throughout the room. 3 more people stood and walked out. Miranda's smile flickered. Next question. A venture capitalist in the 5th row raised his hand. Your cash burn rate suggests our finances are strong. Miranda cut him off. Anyone who understands complex financial instruments would see that clearly. The VC sat down, face flushed with embarrassment. Or anger, hard to tell. In the back row, Marcus watched silently, taking notes on his tablet. His expression revealed nothing. Miranda continued through her slides. Customer testimonials, technology advantages, market opportunity. Her voice was confident, but the room felt wrong. Too quiet, too empty. Too many people checking their phones instead of watching her presentation. Then Marcus raised his hand. Miranda's eyes landed on him. Her face hardened, her jaw tightened. I'm sorry, she said into the microphone. This session is for actual investors, not guests who wandered in off the street. Gasps rippled through the audience. Someone in the fourth row whispered, "Oh my God." Marcus remained seated, calm, patient. "I just have a technical question," he said. His voice carried despite having no microphone. "About your data privacy compliance, your security architecture." Miranda pointed at him, her finger trembling slightly. "Can someone please escort this individual out? He's been harassing our team all day." A security guard near the door shifted uncomfortably, looked at the conference organizer. The organizer rushed toward the stage, whispering urgently, "Ms. Shaw, that's not—" Miranda ignored her, spoke into the microphone. "He became aggressive earlier when I politely declined his business card. I don't feel safe continuing with him in the room." Phones shot up throughout the ballroom. Recording lights blinked red. View counts climbed in real time. Marcus stood slowly, gathered his tablet, made no sudden movements, no signs of aggression, nothing that could be misinterpreted. "I apologize for any discomfort," he said. His voice was steady, dignified. "I'll step out." He walked toward the exit, unhurried, controlled. As he passed the third row, a prominent female CEO stood, followed him out. Then another investor. Then three more. Miranda watched, confusion flickering across her face. As I was saying, 6 more people walked out. Her CMO stood in the wings frantically waving his phone at her. She ignored him. Nexatech's competitive advantage lies in... Sarah Chen stood, closed her laptop, left without looking back. 10 more followed. The ballroom was now 2/3 empty. Miranda's voice cracked. "Where is everyone going? My presentation isn't finished." No one answered. They just kept leaving. In the hallway, investors clustered around Marcus, apologizing, explaining, trying to distance themselves from what they'd just witnessed. "Mr. Whitfield, I had no idea she would... Please accept our apologies. Whitfield Ventures is still considering opportunities in this sector, right?" Marcus smiled politely. "I appreciate your concern, if you'll excuse me." He walked away, found a quiet corner, pulled out his phone. The video of Miranda calling security had already been uploaded, merged with the first video. 14.7 million views combined. The hashtag #NexaTechRacism was trending #1 globally. His phone buzzed. Text from his lawyer. "Call me ASAP. We may have grounds for legal action." Forbes editor. "Can we get a statement? CNN producer, would love to have you on tonight. Your side of the story." He ignored them all, opened Twitter instead. The threads from former employees had exploded. Jasmine Torres's thread alone had 47,000 retweets. Screenshots everywhere. Stories multiplying by the minute. And then he saw it. A new thread. From an account he didn't recognize. @TechInsider Anonymous. "I'm a current Nexatech employee. I can't give my name because I need this job, but I need to tell you what it's like inside." Marcus read. "Miranda Shaw keeps a list. She calls it her culture fit tracker. It's a spreadsheet of every employee, race, gender, communication style, leadership potential. The ratings for white employees are always higher, always. I've seen her reject qualified candidates because they wouldn't fit the team dynamic. The candidates were always black, always Latino, always Asian. The ones she hired were always white. She told our VP of engineering that diversity hires were dragging down productivity. She said it in a meeting, with 12 people present. Nobody said anything, because we're all afraid." The thread went on. 23 tweets, each one more damning than the last. Marcus felt sick. He'd known it was bad. The due diligence file had told him it was bad. But this was systematic, deliberate. Years of discrimination hidden behind corporate language and legal protection. And Miranda Shaw had no idea any of this was happening, because her phone was still in her bag, silenced, ignored. She was still on stage presenting to 37 people in a room designed for 600. The presentation ended at 4:47 p.m. The applause was golf clap polite. Scattered. Embarrassed. Miranda stepped off stage. Her face was flushed. Her hands were shaking. "What the hell just happened?" she demanded. "Where did everyone go?" Daniel Patterson thrust his phone at her. "This is what happened." Miranda stared at the screen. The video. Her own face twisted with disgust. Her own voice. "I don't shake hands with people who probably can't spell algorithm." The view counter ticked upward as she watched. 18.3 million. 18.4. 18.5. "Oh my God," she whispered. "It gets worse." Her CMO pulled up Twitter. "Former employees are coming forward. They're saying this is a pattern. They're posting screenshots, emails, pay stubs, everything." Miranda scrolled through the threads. Her hands trembled. Her face went white. "These are lies," she said. "Disgruntled employees. We should sue." "Miranda." Daniel's voice was ice. "3 of our biggest clients just canceled their contracts. That's $52 million in annual revenue. Gone. In the last 2 hours. They can't do that." They cited the morality clause. They absolutely can. Her phone rang. Board member. She declined. It rang again. Different board member. Declined. "They're demanding an emergency meeting," her CMO said quietly. "Tonight, 8 o'clock. "This is insane." Miranda's voice was rising, cracking. "I did nothing wrong. I was just..." "Just what?" Daniel's composure finally broke. "Just incredibly racist to one of the most powerful investors in Silicon Valley. Just had security escort him out for asking a legitimate question. Just destroyed our company's reputation in front of 600 witnesses. I didn't know who he was." "That's not a defense, Miranda," Daniel was shouting now. "That makes it worse. That makes it so much worse." He grabbed her shoulders, forced her to look at him. "If you'd known he was a billionaire, you would have treated him differently. You're admitting your respect is transactional, based on perceived wealth, based on perceived status, based on the color of his skin." Miranda pulled away. "That's not what I meant." "It's exactly what you meant. And 20 million people just watched you prove it." Bethany appeared. Her face was gray. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Your 4 o'clock meeting canceled. And your 5 o'clock. And the dinner with Lighthouse Ventures. Rescheduled." "No." Bethany couldn't meet her eyes. "Canceled. They said they're not interested in moving forward. With any relationship." Miranda's legs felt weak. She sat heavily in a conference chair. The room spun around her. "This will blow over," she said. "These things always do. In a week. Miranda." Her CMO's voice was gentle now. Pitying. "This isn't blowing over. You're trending above the president, above the Super Bowl. 23 million people have watched you refuse to shake a black man's hand." "I was under stress. The company is struggling. I didn't..." "Stop." Daniel held up his hand. "Every word you say right now is being recorded by someone. Every excuse you make is going to end up on Twitter. Just stop. Please." Miranda's phone buzzed. Email from the board chair. Subject line: emergency meeting required mandatory attendance. She opened it. Read it twice. 3 times. "The board of directors requires your presence tonight at 8:00 p.m. This meeting is mandatory. Failure to attend will result in immediate termination for cause." Her hands trembled. She'd founded this company, built it from nothing. 8 years of her life, countless sacrifices, broken relationships, missed holidays, everything she had. "We should issue an apology," Bethany suggested quietly. "A real one. Take responsibility. Show remorse." "I'm not apologizing for having standards." Daniel slammed his hand on the table. The sound echoed through the empty ballroom. "Your standards just cost us everything," he said. His voice was flat, final. The company is toxic now. No investor will touch us. No client wants their name associated with us. And you... He stopped, took a breath, ran his hands through his hair. You need to resign tonight, before they fire you. It's the only way to save anything. Miranda's face went white. I built this company. You also destroyed it, in less than 5 hours. She looked around the empty ballroom. The abandoned seats, the blank screens, the silence where applause should have been. What about Marcus Whitfield? She asked. Maybe I can explain. Apologize directly. He seemed reasonable. Maybe... He's gone, Daniel said. Left an hour ago, and he's not coming back. How do you know? Daniel pulled up an email on his phone, read it aloud. Mr. Patterson, this is a courtesy notification. Whitfield Ventures has formally withdrawn from all discussions with Nexitech Solutions. This decision is final and non-negotiable. We wish you well in your future endeavors. David Chen, Managing Partner. Miranda stared at the screen. The words blurred. Her vision tunneled. $180 million. The only lifeline they had. Gone. Because she couldn't shake a black man's hand. The board meeting is in 3 hours, Daniel said quietly. You should prepare a resignation letter. He turned and walked away. Her CMO followed. Then Bethany. Miranda sat alone in the empty ballroom. City lights flickering to life outside the windows. Her empire crumbling around her. She picked up her phone, opened Twitter, started reading the comments. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands. All saying the same thing. Karma is real. She got exactly what she deserved. This is what happens when you judge people by their appearance. R.I.P. to her career, and good riddance. Miranda Shaw had spent her entire life believing she was better than everyone else, smarter, more deserving, more worthy of respect. Now the whole world was telling her the truth, and she had no idea that the worst was yet to come. The emergency board meeting was scheduled for 8:00 p.m. Miranda arrived at 7:47, alone. No assistant, no allies. Just her in the conference room and 7 faces on 7 screens, all watching her like judges at a sentencing. The board chair, William Thornton, spoke first. His voice was cold, controlled, the voice of a man who'd already made up his mind. Miranda, do you understand why we're here? There's been a misunderstanding, she said. The video is being taken out of context. If you'd just let me explain context. Another board member cut in. Richard Hayes, founding investor, the man who'd written the first check 8 years ago. We watched it from 6 different angles, Miranda. There's no context that makes this acceptable. He approached me aggressively. I felt threatened. He extended his hand. William said flatly. That's not aggression. That's basic professional courtesy. A third board member pulled up a spreadsheet on the shared screen. Margaret Chen, the only woman on the board besides Miranda, the only person of color. Let me show you what your handshake cost us, Margaret said. 3 major clients terminated contracts today. Combined annual revenue $52 million. 2 more are reviewing their relationship with us. That's another $38 million at risk. Miranda's throat tightened. The market will recover. Clients will come back once this blows over. It's not blowing over. William leaned forward on his screen. Our stock valuation has collapsed. This morning we were worth $420 million. Tonight, analysts are projecting $165 million. Maybe less by morning. That's temporary. Investor panic. It always corrects. Stanford rescinded your guest lecture invitation, Richard said. The Women in Tech Leadership Conference removed you from their speaker lineup. Forbes pulled you from their most powerful women in tech list. Each sentence landed like a hammer blow. Miranda gripped the edge of the table. And that's just today, William continued. Wait until you see tomorrow's news cycle. Daniel Patterson unmuted himself from his screen in the corner. He'd been silent until now, watching, Waiting. "I've had 14 investor meetings scheduled for next week," he said quietly. "All canceled, not rescheduled, just not interested in moving forward." Those were the exact words, every single time. The room fell silent. William folded his hands. "Miranda, you understand the severity here." "I made a mistake," she said. Her voice cracked. "I'll issue an apology, a public statement. Take responsibility." An apology. William's laugh was bitter, sharp. "You called one of the most respected investors in Silicon Valley uneducated. You questioned his right to be at a professional event. You had security escort him out for asking a legitimate question about our data privacy compliance." "I didn't know who he was." Silence. Then William spoke slowly, deliberately, each word a nail in her coffin. "That's not a defense, Miranda. That makes it infinitely worse." Miranda felt the ground shifting beneath her. "If you'd known he was a billionaire," William continued, "you would have treated him differently. You're admitting your respect is transactional, based on perceived wealth, based on perceived status." "That's not what I meant." "It's exactly what everyone saw. 27 million people and counting." Margaret Chen spoke next. Her voice was quiet, controlled, but there was something underneath it, something personal. "We've also been contacted by the EEOC," she said. "They're launching an investigation into Nexitech's hiring practices. Former employees have been very vocal." Miranda's stomach dropped. "They're disgruntled, terminated for performance issues. Their complaints were investigated and dismissed." "Dismissed by your HR department." Margaret's eyes narrowed. "Which reports to you, which you control. The federal government isn't going to dismiss anything." "They're alleging a pattern," Richard added. "Not just one incident, years of systematic discrimination, hiring, promotions, compensation, everything." Miranda's phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at it instinctively. Email from her attorney. Subject line: lawsuit filed. She opened it with trembling fingers. "Class action lawsuit filed this afternoon. 12 former employees. Discrimination. Hostile work environment. Wrongful termination. Lead plaintiff Jasmine Torres. Seeking $15 million in damages plus punitive." 12 employees. $15 million, and this was just the beginning. "The board has made a decision," William said. His voice turned formal, cold, final. "You have two options. Resign effective immediately with a standard severance package, or we terminate you for cause and you leave with nothing." Miranda's vision blurred. "You can't do this. I founded this company. I built it from nothing." "You also destroyed it." William's face filled her screen. No sympathy, no warmth. "In less than 24 hours, you turned Nexitech from a struggling but viable company into a toxic asset no one will touch. I need time to fix this." "There is no fixing this." William shook his head slowly. "Every second you remain CEO, we lose more value, more clients, more credibility, more chance of survival." Miranda looked around the virtual table. 7 faces. Not one showed sympathy. Not one showed doubt. "If I resign," she said quietly, "what happens to my equity? You keep your vested shares. Current value approximately $14 million. It was $47 million yesterday." "Yes." William's voice held no emotion. "It was. $33 million. Evaporated. Because of one handshake she refused to give. And if I don't resign, we terminate for cause. Morality clause violation. You forfeit unvested equity and bonuses. You leave with roughly $3 million. The math was brutal, simple, devastating. "You have until 9:00 a.m. tomorrow to decide," William said. "We recommend resignation. It looks better for everyone." The screens went black, one by one. 7 faces disappearing into darkness. Meeting ended. Miranda sat alone in the conference room. City lights glittered below through floor-to-ceiling windows. The same view she'd admired 1,000 times. The same view that used to make her feel powerful, invincible. Now it just made her feel small. Her phone rang. She looked at the screen. Her husband, Thomas. "Miranda?" His voice was wrong, distant, cold. "We need to talk." "Not now. I just got out of a board meeting. They're trying to—" "My firm called." Thomas cut her off. "They're concerned about association. My partners think we should consider separation." "What?" "I filed for divorce. Papers will be served tomorrow." Miranda's heart stopped. "Thomas, you can't be serious. We've been married for 12 years. You can't just—" "I watched the video, Miranda." His voice cracked. "I watched you treat that man like he was worthless, like he was beneath you, like he didn't deserve basic human dignity. I was stressed. The company is struggling. I didn't mean—" "You meant every word." Thomas's voice hardened. "I've watched you treat waiters that way, cleaning staff, anyone you thought was below you. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself you were different with me, with people who mattered." "Thomas." "But that's the point, isn't it? You decide who matters, based on what they can give you, based on how they look, based on whether they fit your image of success." "That's not true." "It's exactly true. And I can't be married to someone like that anymore." The line went dead. Miranda stared at the phone. The screen dimmed, went black, just like the board meeting, just like her marriage, just like everything. A knock on the door, soft, hesitant. Bethany entered holding a cardboard box. "Building security asked me to help you clear your office tonight," she said quietly. "They want your badge and laptop before you leave." "I haven't resigned yet." "The board sent an email. They've locked your access, effective immediately." Miranda stood on shaking legs, walked to her corner office, the office she'd designed herself, the office that had been featured in 3 magazine profiles, the office that represented everything she'd achieved. Photos came off the wall, awards into the box, personal items. 8 years packed up in 30 minutes. She found a photo of herself at the company launch, younger, smiling, surrounded by her original team. 5 of them had quit within the first year. She couldn't remember why. No, that wasn't true. She remembered exactly why. She just didn't want to think about it. "Is there anything else you need?" Bethany asked from the doorway. Miranda looked at her assistant, really looked at her for the first time in months. The dark circles under her eyes, the tension in her shoulders, the way she flinched whenever Miranda raised her voice. "How long have you worked for me, Bethany?" 18 months. "Have I ever asked you a personal question about your life, your family?" Bethany hesitated. "No." "Have I ever said thank you?" Silence. "I'm sorry," Miranda said. The words felt foreign in her mouth. "For all of it." Bethany's eyes widened. Then she looked down, nodded once, said nothing. Some apologies come too late to matter. Miranda left through the back exit. No goodbye, no final speech, just a cardboard box and a baseball cap pulled low over her eyes. Outside, a photographer caught her anyway. Flash, click, flash. That photo would be on every tech blog by morning. Miranda Shaw, disgraced CEO, carrying the remains of her empire in a cardboard box. The countdown continued. Tomorrow would bring the keynote. Tomorrow would bring the revelation. Tomorrow would bring the moment when Miranda finally understood exactly who she'd destroyed herself to destroy. The ballroom was packed by 8:47 a.m. Every seat filled. People lining the walls, standing room only. Cameras from TechCrunch, Bloomberg, The Verge, CNN. Everyone wanted to witness this moment. Miranda sat in the back corner. Baseball cap pulled low, sunglasses indoors. She'd barely slept. Her eyes were swollen from crying. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Daniel had insisted she attend. "You need to see this," he'd said. "You need to understand what you did." She didn't want to understand. She wanted to disappear. To wake up and discover this was all a nightmare. But the cardboard box in her car was real. The divorce papers being filed were real. The lawsuit was real. Everything was real. The conference organizer took the stage. The room fell silent instantly. "Good morning," she said. "Before we begin today's sessions, we have a very special keynote address." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Phones came out. Cameras positioned. "Our speaker has revolutionized venture capital. His fund has invested $3.2 billion in transformative companies. He's been on the Forbes Midas list for 3 consecutive years." Miranda's stomach dropped. Her hands went cold. "No, please, no." "His portfolio includes 23 unicorns, companies you use every day, technologies that changed industries." The screen behind the organizer lit up. Logos appeared. Major tech companies, household names, apps that Miranda used on her own phone. Combined valuation, $14.8 billion. He's known for walking away from profitable deals when leadership doesn't align with his values. The audience leaned forward. The energy in the room shifted. Anticipation, excitement, reverence. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the founder and managing partner of Whitfield Ventures, Marcus Whitfield." The room erupted. Standing ovation, thunderous applause. 600 people on their feet cheering for the man Miranda had refused to shake hands with. Marcus walked onto the stage. Same black t-shirt, same jeans, same quiet confidence, the same outfit Miranda had mocked, the same appearance she'd used to judge him worthless. He smiled at the crowd, waited for the applause to die down. Patient, unhurried, completely in control. Miranda couldn't breathe. Her vision tunneled. Her hands gripped the armrests of her chair like she might fall without them. The man she'd humiliated. The man she'd called uneducated. The man she'd had security remove. He controlled $3.2 billion. He was the mystery investor everyone had been whispering about. The one who could have saved her company with a single check. And she'd treated him like garbage. Daniel leaned close, whispered in her ear, "That's the investor we needed. $180 million. He could have written it without blinking." Miranda's phone trembled in her hands. She Googled him frantically. Forbes profile loaded. Net worth $1.4 billion. Education MIT, computer science, summa cum laude. Background built and sold 2 startups before age 30. Founded Whitfield Ventures at 32. Known for ethical investing supporting diverse founders walking away from toxic leadership. A photo showed him at last year's Forbes Summit, standing between the CEOs of Google and Microsoft. Equal footing, peers. She'd told him he probably couldn't spell algorithm. The applause finally died down. Marcus smiled, waited for complete silence. "Thank you," he said. His voice was warm, genuine. "I want to talk today about what truly matters in venture capital. No notes, no teleprompter. Just him and the microphone and 600 people hanging on every word. I've been fortunate, very fortunate, but I've also been underestimated, judged, dismissed, questioned, every day of my professional life." Eyes in the audience flickered toward the back, toward Miranda. She sank lower in her seat. "I've been mistaken for catering staff at events where I was the keynote speaker. I've had people clutch their bags when I enter elevators. I've been asked where I really went to school because surely not MIT." Knowing laughter from the crowd, the kind of laughter that came from recognition, from shared experience. "I've had my intelligence questioned by people who never asked about my background. I've been called aggressive for speaking calmly. I've been told I'm a diversity hire at companies I own." Miranda's face burned. Every word was about yesterday. Everyone knew it. "True sophistication isn't about appearances," Marcus continued. It's not about the watch on your wrist, or the car in your garage, or the school on your resume. True sophistication is about recognizing talent regardless of packaging, about treating every person with dignity whether you think they can help you or not. The audience nodded. Someone in the front row said, "Yes," audibly. I've walked away from hundreds of millions of dollars in deals because leadership showed me who they really are. Marcus paused. Let the word settle. And I'll do it again. Every single time. Because money is replaceable. Character is not. Massive applause. Several people stood. Yesterday, someone asked me why diversity matters in tech. Marcus smiled slightly. Here's why. The best ideas come from different perspectives. The strongest companies embrace discomfort. The smartest leaders know their blind spots. More applause. And the worst mistake any founder can make. He paused, made eye contact with someone in the back of the room. Miranda felt his gaze like a spotlight. Is judging a book by its cover? Because you never know who's sitting across from you. The room understood. Heads turned subtly toward the back, toward the woman in the baseball cap and sunglasses. Miranda wanted to disappear, wanted to melt into the floor, wanted to be anywhere but here, listening to the man she'd destroyed herself to dismiss. Whitfield Ventures just closed our largest fund ever, Marcus announced. $600 million specifically for underrepresented founders. We're looking at AI healthcare data enterprise solutions. Miranda's heart stopped. Those were Nexatech's markets. Those were the exact sectors she'd pitched yesterday. We found some incredible companies, groundbreaking technology, ethical leadership, teams that look like the world they're serving. He smiled. Warm, genuine. We're excited about the future. Because the future belongs to companies that understand something very simple. Talent doesn't have a dress code. Excellence doesn't need a pedigree. And respect isn't something you earn by looking a certain way. The applause was deafening. Standing ovation, thunderous, sustained. Miranda stood shakily, pushed toward the exit. People stepped aside, creating a path. Silent. Judging. She could feel their eyes on her. Their contempt. Their satisfaction at her downfall. In the hallway, she waited. 20 minutes later, Marcus emerged from the ballroom. Investors swarmed him immediately. Business cards, handshakes. Everyone wanted a moment with the man who'd just delivered the most talked-about keynote of the year. Miranda pushed through the crowd. Mr. Whitfield. Her voice was hoarse, desperate. Please, I think there's been a terrible misunderstanding. Marcus turned. His expression was polite, professional, cold. There's no misunderstanding, Ms. Shaw. I was stressed. The company is struggling. I didn't mean... You showed me exactly who you are. His voice was quiet, final. I believe you. Please. Miranda's voice cracked. Nexatech needs this investment. Just one meeting. Let me explain. Let me show you the technology, the projections, the potential. Ms. Shaw. Marcus adjusted his cufflinks. The same gesture from yesterday. The same Tom Ford shirt she'd failed to notice. I make investment decisions based on leadership quality, character, values. Yesterday you demonstrated all three very clearly. I can change. I can... Whitfield Ventures will not be investing in Nexatech Solutions. His voice carried. People around them stopped talking, started listening. Not now, not ever. This decision is final and non-negotiable. He turned away. 3 investors immediately approached him, blocking Miranda's path. She stood in the hallway, alone. The man who could have saved everything walking away, just like she'd dismissed him yesterday. Mr. Whitfield, she called out. One last desperate attempt. What would it take? What would I have to do? Marcus stopped, turned slightly, looked at her over his shoulder. You could start by asking yourself a question, he said quietly. If I'd been wearing a suit, would you have shaken my hand? Miranda had no answer. That's what I thought. Marcus turned away for the last time. Good luck, Ms. Shaw. You're going to need it. He disappeared into the crowd. Gone. Forever. Miranda stood frozen. People flowed around her like water around a stone. No one spoke to her. No one acknowledged her. She'd become invisible, irrelevant. A cautionary tale that people would tell for years. Her phone buzzed. Board chair calling. She answered. We received your resignation letter, William Thornton said. Effective immediately as requested. Your severance package is being processed. I didn't send a resignation letter. We received it at 8:15 this morning, from your email address. Daniel had sent it, had made the decision for her. The board has appointed Daniel Patterson as interim CEO, William continued. He'll be issuing a public statement within the hour. We recommend you avoid media contact for the foreseeable future. For how long? Forever would be ideal. The line went dead. Miranda looked down at her phone, at the reflection in the black screen, at the woman she'd become. 48 hours ago, she'd been the CEO of a $420 million company. She'd had a husband, a career, a future. Now she had nothing. And it had all started with a handshake she was too proud to give. 6 months passed like a slow execution. Miranda watched her life disintegrate piece by piece. The divorce was finalized in February. Thomas got the house in Austin, the vacation property in Colorado, 60% of their joint assets. She didn't fight it. She didn't have the energy to fight anything anymore. The class action lawsuit grew. 12 plaintiffs became 19. 19 became 27. Every week, another former employee came forward. Another story. Another piece of evidence. Another nail in her coffin. She'd moved into a small apartment in Pflugerville, a suburb nobody had heard of. A place where she hoped nobody would recognize her face from the video that had now been viewed 47 million times. She was wrong. You're that lady, aren't you? The cashier at the grocery store stared at her. Young woman, maybe 22. College student, probably. The one who wouldn't shake hands with that guy. Miranda said nothing. Paid for her groceries. Left without making eye contact. It happened everywhere. The gym, the coffee shop, the pharmacy. Someone always recognized her. Someone always had something to say. My cousin worked at Nexitech. She said you were worse in person. How does it feel to be famous for being racist? My kids saw that video. They asked me why you were so mean. I didn't know what to tell them. Miranda stopped going out. Ordered groceries online. Stayed in her apartment with the blinds closed. Watched the news coverage of her own destruction like a spectator at a car crash. Then the federal investigation went public. The EEOC press conference aired live on every major network. Miranda watched from her couch, a glass of wine in her trembling hand. Our investigation reveals a systematic pattern of discrimination at Nexitech Solutions, the EEOC director announced. She stood behind a podium, flanked by federal attorneys. We've identified 52 documented instances of racial bias in hiring, promotion, and compensation decisions. 52. The number hit Miranda like a physical blow. The numbers are stark, the director continued. People of color represented 44% of qualified applicants for positions at Nexitech. Only 4% were hired. Of those hired, none were promoted to management positions in the company's 8-year history. A slide appeared on the screen behind her. Statistical analysis, pay gaps, promotion rates. The disparity was undeniable. We also found email evidence of explicit bias from company leadership. Another slide, Miranda's own words in black and white, projected on screens across America. Let's keep the team culture fit. You know what I mean. Written after interviewing a black candidate with a PhD in machine learning. Can we find someone more polished? Written about a Latino sales candidate with 12 years of industry experience. I don't think clients will relate to him. written about an Asian American account executive who had outperformed every member of his team. Miranda's glass slipped from her hand. Wine spilled across the carpet. She didn't move to clean it. The press conference continued. More evidence, more emails, more damning quotes that she barely remembered writing. Based on our findings, the Department of Justice will be pursuing federal civil rights charges against Miranda Shaw personally, as well as corporate charges against Nexatech Solutions. Federal charges, criminal charges, not just a civil lawsuit anymore. Miranda's phone rang. Her attorney James Morrison, the one she could barely afford now that her legal fees had exceeded $800,000. "Tell me this isn't as bad as it looks," she said. "It's worse." James's voice was grim. "They're going for the maximum. Federal civil rights violations, corporate discrimination, perjury for the statements you made to internal investigators, fraud for the financial projections you presented to investors." "Fraud I didn't. You inflated revenue projections by 37% in your pitch deck. That's securities fraud. They have your CFO's testimony. He's cooperating." Daniel was cooperating with the federal government. "What are we looking at?" Miranda asked. Worst case, 8 to 12 years federal prison, $2 million in fines, permanent ban from serving as a corporate officer." Miranda's vision blurred. 8 to 12 years. She'd be in her 60s when she got out. Her life would be over. "What do you recommend?" "Honestly plead guilty. Accept responsibility. Show remorse. Hope the judge is lenient." "And if I fight it?" "They have 52 former employees ready to testify. They have your emails. They have your internal communications. They have video evidence that's been viewed by more people than the Super Bowl halftime show." James paused. "If you fight it, you lose, and the sentence gets worse." Miranda hung up, stared at the wine stains spreading across her carpet. This was really happening. This was actually her life now. The trial began on a Tuesday in September. Federal courthouse, downtown Austin. Media circus outside. Protesters with signs. Cameras everywhere. Security barriers keeping the crowds back. Miranda arrived in a car with tinted windows. Dark suit. Hair pulled back. No makeup. Her attorney had advised her to look humble, remorseful, human. She didn't feel human. She felt like a ghost haunting her own life. Inside the courtroom was packed. Every seat filled. Reporters in the gallery. Former employees in the first 3 rows. Investors who'd lost money. People who just wanted to witness the downfall in person. Marcus Whitfield was not there. He'd given his deposition months ago. Answered every question calmly, factually, without anger or vindictiveness. Then he'd gone back to running his $3.2 billion fund. Back to changing the industry. Back to his life. Miranda had read the transcript of his deposition. One exchange haunted her. "Cue Mr. Whitfield. How did Ms. Shaw's treatment make you feel, honestly?" For about 30 seconds, I doubted myself. Wondered if maybe I was too forward, too casual, too black. That's what this kind of treatment does. It makes you question your own reality, your own worth. Q. And after those 30 seconds, I remembered who I am, what I've built, what I've overcome. And I realized her opinion said everything about her character and nothing about mine. The prosecution's opening statement lasted 47 minutes. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," the prosecutor began. She was a black woman named Patricia Coleman, senior trial attorney for the Civil Rights Division, 15 years of experience, 92% conviction rate. You've probably seen the video that started this case, 2 minutes and 17 seconds that showed the world who Miranda Shaw really is. She paused. Let the jury remember. But that video was just one moment, one day. We're here to show you that this behavior wasn't an aberration. It was a pattern, a system, a deliberate, calculated campaign of discrimination that destroyed careers, denied opportunities, and violated the civil rights of dozens of American workers. Miranda's hands trembled under the table. Her attorney placed a steadying hand on her arm. Over the next 3 weeks, you'll hear from the victims. Real people whose lives were damaged by Ms. Shaw's prejudice. You'll see the evidence. Emails, documents, statistical analysis that proves beyond any reasonable doubt that Nexatech under Miranda Shaw's leadership systematically discriminated against employees based on the color of their skin. Patricia walked toward the jury box, made eye contact with each juror. This isn't about a handshake. This is about justice. For Jasmine Torres, who was fired for having natural hair. For Kevin Park, who was told Asians can't lead. For Diego Reyes, who was paid $35,000 less than his white colleague for doing the same job. She turned and pointed at Miranda. This woman decided who deserved respect based on how they looked, who deserved opportunity based on whether they fit her image of success, who deserved basic human dignity based on the color of their skin. Patricia's voice hardened. The evidence will show that Miranda Shaw didn't just refuse one handshake. She refused to see entire groups of people as fully human. And today, finally, she will be held accountable for that choice. The defense's opening was shorter, less powerful. Miranda's attorney argued stress, market pressure, misunderstanding, isolated incidents taken out of context. It fell flat. Even Miranda could tell. The prosecution's case unfolded over 11 days. Jasmine Torres took the stand first. 29 years old. Black. Former marketing manager. The lead plaintiff in the class action lawsuit that had grown to 27 people. She wore a navy blue dress. Hair natural. Head high. Voice steady. Ms. Torres, Patricia began, can you describe your first week at Nexatech? Yes. Jasmine's voice was clear. I was excited. It was my dream job. Marketing manager at a rising tech company. I'd worked so hard to get there. What happened on your first day? I met Miranda Shaw in the elevator. She looked at my hair and said, interesting choice. Then she asked if I was the new cleaning service. Gasps from the gallery. What did you say? I told her I was the new marketing manager. She laughed and said, oh, you're Jasmine. You sounded so different on the phone. Different how? She didn't say, but I understood what she meant. Patricia nodded. What happened next? The first week was orientation, meetings, training. At the end of the week, Miranda called me into her office. She said I needed to tone down my style, that my natural hair was distracting and unprofessional. She suggested I straighten it to look more polished. Did you comply? No. Jasmine's jaw tightened. My hair is part of who I am. I wasn't going to change myself to make her comfortable. How did Ms. Shaw respond to that? She started questioning everything I did, every report, every presentation, every email, things she never questioned from my white colleagues. She'd say things like, are you sure about this? And maybe run it by someone else first. Did she say those things to other employees? Not to the white ones, never to the white ones. Patricia pulled up a document on the screen. I'm showing you Exhibit 14. Can you identify this? It's my performance review, the one Miranda wrote 3 months after I started. Can you read the highlighted section? Jasmine looked at the screen. Her voice wavered slightly. Jasmine shows potential but struggles with communication style. Her approach is often too aggressive and may not align with Nexatech's collaborative culture. Recommend additional coaching on professional presence before considering for advancement. Were you aggressive, Ms. Torres? I spoke up in meetings. I shared my ideas. I pushed back when I disagreed. Jasmine looked directly at the jury. The same things my white colleagues did every day without anyone calling them aggressive. What happened when you complained to HR about the performance review? I was fired 2 weeks later. They said I wasn't a cultural fit. Did they give you any other explanation? No, just that phrase, cultural fit, like it explained everything. Patricia approached the witness stand. Ms. Torres, I'm showing you Exhibit 23. This is a pay comparison chart for Nexa Tech marketing employees from your time there. Can you tell the jury what it shows? Jasmine studied the chart. Her jaw tightened. It shows that I was paid $63,000. My white colleague Sarah Mitchell, who was hired the same month with the same title with less experience, was paid $90,000. $27,000 less for the same job. Yes. Did you ever ask about this disparity? I didn't know about it until the lawsuit. Nexa Tech kept salaries confidential. Now I know why. The cross-examination was brutal but ineffective. Miranda's attorney tried to paint Jasmine as a disgruntled employee with an axe to grind. Jasmine remained calm, factual, unshakable. By the time she stepped down, 3 jurors were crying. Kevin Park testified the next day. 34 years old, Asian American, former senior engineer. Passed over for promotion 5 times despite top performance reviews. Mr. Park, Patricia began, how long did you work at Nexa Tech? 4 years and 7 months. In that time, how many times were you considered for promotion? 5 times. How many times were you promoted? 0. Patricia pulled up another document. I'm showing you Exhibit 31. This is your performance review from your 3rd year. Can you read the overall rating? Exceptional. Top 5% of engineering staff. And this is Exhibit 32, the performance review for Thomas Bradley, a white colleague who was promoted to senior engineering manager that same year. What was his rating? Kevin looked at the screen. His voice was flat. Meets expectations. Bottom 20% of engineering staff. He was rated lower than you. Significantly lower. But he was promoted, and you weren't. Correct. Did Ms. Shaw ever explain why? Kevin's composure cracked slightly. Just for a moment. She said I was technically excellent, but lacked executive presence. She said Asians are good at executing, but not at leading. That I should focus on what I was naturally suited for. She said this to you directly. In front of my entire team. 12 people. Nobody said anything, because we were all afraid. Afraid of what? Of being next. Of being labeled a troublemaker. Of being fired for not being a cultural fit. Patricia nodded. What finally made you decide to leave Nexa Tech? Kevin was silent for a long moment. I watched my white colleague get promoted for the 5th time, the one with the lower ratings, the one who made mistakes I had to fix, and I realized something. What did you realize? It didn't matter how good I was, how hard I worked, how many problems I solved. I was never going to advance at that company because I didn't look like what Miranda Shaw thought a leader should look like. Diego Reyes testified on day 5, 31 years old, Latino, former software developer, born in San Antonio, 3rd-generation American, master's degree from UT Austin, perfect English. Not that it mattered. Mr. Reyes, Patricia asked, can you describe the pay disparity you experienced at Nexa Tech? I was hired as a senior developer at $75,000. My white colleague Ryan Peters was hired the same month, same role, same title. He had a bachelor's degree from Arizona State. I had a master's from UT Austin. He had 3 years of experience. I had 6. What was his salary? $110,000. $35,000 more than you, for the same job, with fewer qualifications. Yes. Did you ever address this with management? I tried. I scheduled a meeting with Miranda Shaw. I brought documentation, my credentials, industry salary data, evidence that I was being significantly underpaid. What did she say? Diego's voice hardened. She said my communication style wasn't leadership material, that I needed to work on being more assertive before I could expect leadership-level compensation. Were you not assertive? I was literally in her office, asserting my right to equal pay. She was looking at me and telling me I wasn't assertive enough, while I was being assertive. What happened after that meeting? I was put on a performance improvement plan, for attitude issues. 3 months later, I was laid off. They called it restructuring. Was anyone else laid off in the restructuring? Yes, 2 other employees, both Latino, the only other Latinos in the engineering department. Patricia let the silence hang. All 3 Latino engineers, gone, in the same restructuring. Yes. While Nexitec continued to hire white engineers. Yes. Did that seem like coincidence to you, Mr. Reyes? Diego looked directly at Miranda for the first time. Nothing about Nexitec was coincidence. It was all by design. The prosecution called 23 witnesses over 11 days. Each story was different. Each story was the same. A pattern so clear, so consistent, so undeniable, that even Miranda started to see it. Had she really said those things? Written those emails? Made those decisions? She had. She knew she had. She just hadn't thought about what they meant, what they revealed, who they hurt. She'd told herself she was maintaining standards, protecting culture, building a team of the best people. But the best people somehow always looked like her. The defense's case lasted 3 days. Character witnesses who seemed uncomfortable, expert witnesses whose testimony felt hollow, arguments that sounded like excuses even to Miranda's own ears. Then Miranda took the stand. Her attorney had advised against it, strongly. But she'd insisted. She needed to explain, needed people to understand, needed the jury to see her as human. Ms. Shaw. Patricia Coleman approached slowly, like a predator circling prey. Let's talk about the incident that brought us here today. The conference in Austin. The handshake. Miranda swallowed. Yes. You refused to shake Marcus Whitfield's hand. Correct. Yes, I didn't shake his hand. Why not? I was stressed. The company was struggling. I was distracted. You shook 15 other hands that hour, according to security footage. You weren't too stressed for them. Miranda had no answer. You told Mr. Whitfield he probably couldn't spell algorithm. Did you ask about his education? No. But you assumed, based on what Miranda's voice faltered. I don't know. You don't know. Or you don't want to say. I made assumptions. Wrong assumptions. I see that now. You called security on him. Why? He made me uncomfortable. How? He was standing 5 feet away, hands at his sides, voice calm. What was uncomfortable about that? Miranda felt the courtroom pressing in on her, the jury staring, the gallery silent. I assumed he didn't belong there, based on how he looked, how he was dressed. Based on how he looked? Patricia nodded slowly. You mean based on his race? I didn't think of it that way at the time. But that's what it was, wasn't it? Miranda's eyes filled with tears. Yes, that's what it was. And when you wrote emails about employees not being culture fit, what did you mean? I thought I meant they didn't match our company culture. What did your company culture look like, Ms. Shaw? Miranda looked at the jury. 12 faces, diverse faces, black and white and Asian and Latino, all watching her, all judging her. It looked like me, she whispered. It always looked like me. So when someone didn't look like you, they didn't fit. Tears streamed down Miranda's face. I see that now. I see what I did. I see who I was. Who were you, Ms. Shaw? I was someone who decided who deserved respect based on appearances, based on assumptions, based on prejudice. Miranda's voice broke. I was everything I always told myself I wasn't. The courtroom was silent. I'm sorry, Miranda said. I'm so sorry for what I did, for who I hurt, for who I was. Patricia Coleman looked at her for a long moment. Then she turned to the jury. No further questions. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. They returned with a verdict at 4:47 p.m. Guilty on all counts: federal civil rights violations, corporate discrimination, perjury, fraud. Miranda stood motionless as the verdict was read. Each guilty landed like a punch. By the end, she could barely stand. The sentencing came 2 weeks later. Judge Harold Washington presided. 63 years old. Black. 30 years on the federal bench. Known for thorough, thoughtful sentences. "Ms. Shaw," he said, "your behavior wasn't a mistake. It was a pattern. A choice you made every day for 8 years." Miranda stood, head bowed, hands clasped. "You had every advantage in life: wealth, education, opportunity. And you used those advantages to demean and discriminate against people who'd done nothing wrong except exist in skin that didn't match yours." She couldn't look up, couldn't face him. "You showed Mr. Whitfield and countless others that in your eyes they were less than human, less than worthy, less than deserving of basic dignity and respect." Judge Washington paused. The courtroom held its breath. "This sentence reflects not just what you did, but who you showed yourself to be." He read the sentence slowly, deliberately. 22 months in federal prison, 3 years supervised release, $500,000 fine, 1,000 hours of community service focused on diversity education and anti-discrimination training, permanent ban from serving as a corporate officer or board member of any publicly traded company. Miranda's legs buckled. Her attorney caught her elbow. "Additionally," the judge continued, "you are personally liable for $12 million in damages to the plaintiffs. The corporate veil is pierced due to the egregious and personal nature of your conduct." 22 months, $12 million, her entire remaining fortune, everything gone. "Ms. Shaw, I hope you use your time to reflect on who you were and who you want to become. Because the person you showed the world in that video, in those emails, in this courtroom, that person deserves everything that's coming to her." The gavel fell. Outside the courthouse, the plaintiffs gathered on the steps. Jasmine Torres stood in front of the microphones, flanked by Kevin Park and Diego Reyes. 24 other former employees behind them, all together, all vindicated. "This isn't just about money," Jasmine said. Her voice was strong, steady. "This is about accountability. This is about saying to everyone who discriminates, everyone who demeans, everyone who decides that some people matter less than others, there are consequences." Reporters shouted questions. "What's next for you?" Jasmine smiled. "For the first time in a long time. I'm starting my own company. We're building a platform to help companies identify and eliminate bias in their hiring practices. We're going to change how businesses think about diversity. Who's funding it?" Jasmine's smile widened. "Whitfield Ventures. Marcus Whitfield reached out 6 months ago. He believed in us before anyone else did." Behind her, Kevin Park and Diego Reyes nodded. "We're all involved," Kevin said. "Building something that matters. Something that will make sure no one goes through what we went through." "And we're hiring," Diego added. "Everyone, every background, every story. Because talent doesn't have a dress code, and excellence doesn't need a pedigree." The cameras flashed. The reporters scribbled. The story spread across every network, every website, every social media platform. Justice had been served. But the story wasn't over yet. 14 months into her sentence, Miranda Shaw received a visitor. She hadn't expected anyone. Her parents had stopped coming after month 3. Her former colleagues had never come at all. The friends she thought she had turned out to be people who only liked her when she was powerful. So when the guard told her she had a visitor, she assumed it was her attorney with more paperwork, more legal complications, more consequences she hadn't anticipated. She walked into the visitation room and stopped. Jasmine Torres sat at the small table, navy blue blazer, natural hair, head high, the same woman who'd testified against her. The same woman whose career she'd destroyed. Miranda almost turned around, almost walked back to her cell. But something in Jasmine's eyes made her stay. She sat down across from her, said nothing, waited. "You look different," Jasmine said finally. "Prison will do that." "I don't mean physically." Jasmine studied her face. "You look smaller, less certain." Miranda had no response. She was smaller, less certain, less everything. "Why are you here?" she asked. Jasmine was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a photograph, slid it across the table. Miranda looked at it. A group photo. 37 people standing in front of a modern office building. Diverse faces, bright smiles. A banner behind them read, "Equity Analytics Grand Opening." "That's my company," Jasmine said. "We launched 3 months ago. 37 employees. 12 of them are former Nexatech workers, the ones you fired, the ones you called not culture fit." Miranda stared at the photo. Couldn't speak. "We just closed our Series A," Jasmine continued. $22 million. Whitfield Ventures led the round. 3 other major funds participated. We're valued at $95 million. $95 million. More than Nexatech was worth when Miranda left. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I needed you to see it." Jasmine's voice was calm, controlled. "I needed you to see what we built, what we became, despite everything you did to stop us." Miranda felt tears forming. She blinked them back. "I spent 2 years thinking I was the problem," Jasmine said. "Thinking maybe I really wasn't culture fit. Maybe I really was too aggressive. Maybe I really didn't belong in tech." She leaned forward. "You almost convinced me that I was worthless, that I didn't deserve success, that I should just accept less because of how I looked." "Jasmine, Let me finish." Jasmine held up her hand. "I didn't come here for an apology. I didn't come here for closure. I came here because I needed to say something to your face." Miranda waited. "You were wrong about me. You were wrong about all of us. Kevin is our CTO now. He's brilliant. He leads a team of 40 engineers, and they would follow him anywhere. Diego is our VP of sales. He closed our 3 biggest accounts. The clients love him." She pulled out more photos, one by one, face after face. "Maria Chen. You said she was too quiet to be management material. She runs our entire operations department. 97% efficiency rating. Deshaun Williams. You said he was intimidating and made clients uncomfortable. He's our top account executive. He's closed $18 million in new business this year." Priya Sharma. You said her accent was too strong for client-facing roles. She's our head of customer success. Our retention rate is 94%. Miranda looked at the photos, face after face, career after career, people she'd dismissed, people she'd underestimated, people she'd been so wrong about. "We're not the exception," Jasmine said. "We're not special cases who succeeded despite being minorities. We're proof that you were wrong. About everything." "I know," Miranda whispered. "I know I was wrong. Do you really understand what you did?" "I'm starting to." Jasmine was quiet for a moment. Then she pulled out one final item from her bag. A magazine. Fortune. The cover showed Marcus Whitfield in a tailored suit standing in front of the Austin skyline. The headline read, "The Billionaire Who's Changing Venture Capital. How Marcus Whitfield Built a $4.5 billion Empire by Betting on the Underestimated." "Have you seen this?" Jasmine asked. Miranda shook her head. "Read the part I highlighted." Miranda took the magazine, found the yellow highlighting, read aloud, voice trembling. "The turning point came at a conference in Austin. A CEO refused to shake my hand. She questioned my education called security, tried to have me removed. In that moment, she showed me exactly who she was. But she also showed me something else. She showed me how many talented people must face that kind of dismissal every day. People who never get the chance to prove themselves. That's when I decided to create the Whitfield Opportunity Fund. $600 million dedicated to founders who've been overlooked, underestimated, dismissed. Because I know what it feels like, and I know how wrong those assumptions usually are. Miranda set down the magazine, tears streaming down her face now. You changed him, Jasmine said quietly. Not the way you intended. But you changed him. You made him more determined to prove people like you wrong. You made him more committed to helping people like us succeed. I don't deserve any credit for that. No, you don't. But that's the strange thing about consequences. Jasmine stood up, gathered her photos. Sometimes the worst things people do create the best outcomes for everyone else. She looked at Miranda one final time. I didn't come here to forgive you. I'm not sure I can do that. But I came here to show you that you failed. You tried to keep us down and you failed. We're thriving. We're successful. We're building something that matters. She walked toward the door, stopped, turned. And every time I sign a new contract, every time I hire someone you would have rejected, every time I prove that diversity makes companies stronger, I think about you, sitting in here, knowing that everything you believed was wrong. Jasmine, Miranda's voice cracked. I'm sorry. For everything. I know it doesn't matter. I know it doesn't fix anything. But I am sorry. Jasmine was silent for a long moment. Use that sorry, she said finally. When you get out of here, do something with it. Prove you've changed. Not with words. With actions. Then she was gone. Miranda sat alone in the visitation room for a long time, staring at the magazine cover. At the face of the man she'd tried to humiliate. The man who'd built an empire by betting on people she would have dismissed. The guard came to take her back to her cell. You okay? He asked. Young man, black, kind eyes. No, Miranda said honestly. But I think that's the point. 8 months later, Miranda Shaw walked out of federal prison. No cameras this time, no media circus. Just a gray morning, a bus ticket, and a small bag of belongings. She'd served 22 months, minus good behavior. 18 months of her life gone. Everything else gone, too. She had $3,247 in her bank account. The remainder of her assets after the settlement payments, legal fees, and fines. She'd started with a trust fund worth $4 million. She was leaving with less than the average American had in savings. She took the bus to San Antonio, rented a room in a boarding house, found a job at a grocery store, cashier, minimum wage. The same kind of job she'd never noticed when she was powerful. The same kind of workers she'd treated like they were invisible. The first week was humiliating. Customers recognized her. Some said nothing. Some said too much. Aren't you that CEO? The racist one? How does it feel to be on the other side now? My daughter applied to Nexatech 3 times. You rejected her every time. She's at Google now, making twice what you're making. Miranda said nothing, just scanned items. Bagged groceries. Said, have a nice day, until the words lost all meaning. But then something shifted. A month in an elderly black woman came through her line. Regular customer. Came every Thursday. Always bought the same things. Always paid with exact change. You're new here, the woman said. Yes, ma'am. Started a few weeks ago. You're that woman from the news. The one who wouldn't shake that man's hand. Miranda braced herself, waited for the lecture, the condemnation, the judgment. My grandson showed me the video, the woman continued. Made me watch the whole thing. Said I needed to see what folks like me still deal with. I'm sorry, Miranda said quietly. I'm truly sorry. The woman studied her face for a long moment. You look different than you did in that video. You look tired, sad. I am. Good. The woman nodded. Sadness means you're feeling something. That woman in the video, she didn't feel anything. She just judged. Decided who mattered and who didn't without thinking twice. I know, I was wrong, about everything. Knowing you're wrong is just the first step. The woman picked up her bags. What matters is what you do next. My pastor says redemption isn't about words. It's about work. Daily work. The kind nobody sees. She walked toward the exit, stopped, turned. I'll be back next Thursday. Same time. We'll see if you're still here. We'll see if you're still trying. She was there next Thursday, and the Thursday after that, and every Thursday for the next 6 months. Her name was Dorothy Williams, 73 years old, retired schoolteacher, 41 years in the San Antonio public schools. She'd taught generations of children white, black, Latino, Asian, and treated every single one like they mattered. She became Miranda's first real friend in 20 years. The first person who talked to her like a human being instead of a symbol. The first person who seemed interested in who she was becoming rather than who she'd been. "Why are you being kind to me?" Miranda asked one Thursday. "After everything I did." "Because kindness is a choice," Dorothy said simply. "Just like cruelty is a choice. You chose cruelty for a long time. Now you're learning to choose differently. That deserves encouragement, not punishment." Most people don't see it that way. Most people are still angry. They have a right to be. Dorothy patted her hand. But anger gets exhausting after a while, and holding on to it doesn't hurt you, it hurts them. I'd rather spend my energy on hope than hate. Hope for what? Hope that people can change. Hope that the worst thing someone did doesn't have to be the last thing they do. Dorothy smiled. Hope that even someone like you can find their way back to being human. Miranda started to cry. Right there at the register, in front of customers, in front of everyone. Dorothy waited patiently, handed her a tissue. "That's good," she said. "Tears mean you're feeling it, really feeling it. That woman in the video, she couldn't cry. She couldn't feel anyone's pain but her own. You're learning to feel other people now. That's growth." After that, Miranda started volunteering. Weekends at a community center in a predominantly black neighborhood, teaching basic computer skills to seniors, helping teenagers with college applications, doing the invisible work that nobody recognized and nobody praised. The first few months were awkward. People knew who she was. Some refused to work with her. Some said things that hurt. Some just stared. But she kept showing up, week after week, month after month. Not for recognition, not for redemption. Just because Dorothy was right, change required work, not words. One evening, a teenager named Marcus, the irony wasn't lost on her, stayed late for extra help with his college essay. "Why are you here?" he asked. "Like really? You could be anywhere. Why are you at this community center helping people like me?" "Because I spent most of my life not seeing people like you," Miranda said honestly. "I looked right through you. Decided you didn't matter before I knew anything about you. And I was wrong. Deeply, fundamentally wrong. So this is like penance guilt. At first, maybe. But now..." Miranda paused, thought about it. "Now I actually care. About you. About your future. About whether you get into that school you want. UT Austin. Computer science. That's a great program. I know people who..." She stopped, caught herself. "I used to know people. That doesn't matter anymore. What matters is your essay. Let's make it undeniable." Marcus looked at her for a long moment. "You're different than I expected," he said. "From the video, I mean. I thought you'd be, I don't know, meaner." "I was meaner. For a long time. I'm trying to be different now." "Is it working?" Miranda smiled sadly. "I don't know. Ask me in 10 years. 2 years after her release, Miranda got a letter. No return address. Typed, professional. She almost threw it away without reading it. But something made her open it. "Ms. Shaw, I've been following your progress. Community center work. adult education, anti-bias training for corporations. You've kept your head down, done the work, stayed out of the spotlight. I don't know if you've changed, not really. Change takes a lifetime to prove. But I've seen enough to believe you're trying. I'm not offering forgiveness. That's not mine to give. The people you hurt have to make that choice themselves. But I wanted you to know that I see the work. The real work. The kind nobody notices. There's a woman named Patricia Coleman, federal prosecutor. She's starting a nonprofit focused on corporate accountability and workplace discrimination. They're looking for someone to share their story, to teach executives what bias looks like from the inside, to help them see their own blind spots before it's too late. I mentioned your name. She's willing to meet with you. What you do with this opportunity is up to you. M.W. Miranda read the letter 3 times. M.W. Marcus Whitfield. The man she'd refused to shake hands with. The man whose career she'd tried to derail with a single act of prejudice. He was offering her a chance. Not forgiveness, he'd been clear about that, but a chance. She called Patricia Coleman that afternoon. The meeting was uncomfortable. Patricia had prosecuted her, had stood in that courtroom and dismantled her life piece by piece, had called her a systematic discriminator in front of a jury and the world. But Patricia was also a pragmatist. I don't like you, she said bluntly. I don't trust you. I think what you did was reprehensible, and I'm glad you went to prison for it. I understand. But I also believe in redemption, not the easy kind. Not the kind where you say sorry and everyone moves on. The hard kind. The kind that takes years. The kind that requires you to face your worst self every day and choose to be different. That's what I'm trying to do. Then prove it. Come speak to executives. Tell them your story. Show them what it cost you. Not for sympathy, you don't deserve sympathy. But as a warning, as a lesson, as evidence that this behavior has consequences. You want me to be a cautionary tale. I want you to be useful. Patricia's eyes were hard. You destroyed a lot of lives, Miranda. You can't undo that. But you can prevent other people from making the same choices. You can help executives see their own biases before those biases destroy their companies, their careers, their futures. And if people don't want to hear from me, if they think I'm just trying to rehabilitate my image, then you keep showing up anyway. You keep telling the truth anyway. You keep doing the work even when it's thankless and hard and humiliating. Patricia leaned forward. That's what redemption looks like. Not applause, not forgiveness, just endless, invisible work. Miranda took the job. 4 years after the handshake that destroyed her life, Miranda Shaw stood in a conference room in Seattle. 50 executives from a Fortune 500 tech company sat in front of her, mostly white, mostly male, mostly uncomfortable. My name is Miranda Shaw, she began. 6 years ago, I was the CEO of a company worth $400 million. I had everything: power, success, respect. And I threw it all away because I refused to shake a black man's hand. The room was silent. I'm here to tell you that story. Not for sympathy, not for redemption, but because someone in this room is about to make the same choice I made. Someone in this room is about to judge a colleague, an employee, a candidate based on how they look instead of who they are. And that choice will destroy everything you've built. She clicked to the first slide, her own face, twisted with disgust, the moment frozen in time. This is who I was. This is the choice I made. And this is what it cost me. For 2 hours, she told them everything. The assumptions, the emails, the pattern of discrimination she'd convinced herself was maintaining standards. The employees she'd destroyed, the careers she'd derailed, the lives she'd damaged. She showed them the statistics, the lawsuits, the prison sentence, the complete annihilation of everything she'd built. And then she showed them something else. Jasmine Torres on the cover of Inc. magazine. The former victim building Silicon Valley's most diverse unicorn. Kevin Park accepting an award for engineering excellence, standing on stage with his team of 40 engineers who would follow him anywhere. Diego Reyes ringing the opening bell at NASDAQ. Equity Analytics going public at a $1.2 billion valuation. Marcus Whitfield announcing a $2 billion expansion of the Whitfield Opportunity Fund. 253 companies funded. 47,000 jobs created. $18 billion in combined value built by founders who'd been overlooked, underestimated, dismissed. The people I tried to hold back became more successful than I ever was, Miranda said. The company I built on exclusion collapsed. The fund that bet on diversity thrived. She looked at the executives. This isn't a feel-good story about karma. This is a business case. Discrimination isn't just wrong, it's stupid. It's expensive. It's bad strategy. I rejected talent because it didn't look like what I expected talent to look like. And that blindness destroyed me. She clicked to her final slide. A single question. Who are you refusing to see? Every single one of you has blind spots, Miranda said. Every single one of you has made assumptions about colleagues, employees, candidates, based on appearances instead of abilities. Some of those assumptions felt justified, reasonable, even correct. She paused. They weren't. They never are. And if you don't start questioning them now, really questioning them honestly, confronting your own biases, you will end up exactly where I am. Giving speeches about your failures to rooms full of strangers, hoping that someone learns from your mistakes so they don't have to learn from their own. The room was silent. I can't undo what I did. I can't give back the careers I destroyed. I can't restore the dignity I took from people who deserved better. Miranda's voice cracked. But I can tell you the truth. And the truth is simple. The way you treat people when you think they can't help you reveals exactly who you are. And eventually the world will see it too. She stepped back from the podium. Thank you for your time. After the presentation, an executive approached her. Asian American woman, early 40s, VP of engineering. I almost didn't come today, she said. I was angry that they invited you. I thought it was giving you a platform you didn't deserve. You might be right. Maybe. The woman paused. But then you showed Kevin Park's story, the part about being told Asians are good at executing but not leading. You've heard that before. 3 times. At 3 different companies. From 3 different bosses. Her jaw tightened. And I believed them. I started to believe that maybe I wasn't leadership material. Maybe I should just accept being a really good individual contributor. What changed your mind? Kevin did. When I saw him on that stage leading 40 engineers proving everyone wrong, I realized those people weren't evaluating me. They were projecting their biases onto me, making me smaller so they could feel bigger. That's exactly what it was. I know that now. The woman extended her hand. I'm Jennifer. I'm going to be CEO of this company someday. And when I am, I'm going to remember this presentation. I'm going to remember what happens when leaders let their biases make decisions for them. Miranda shook her hand. It was the first handshake that had felt meaningful in years. On a Saturday morning in October, Marcus Whitfield took the stage at the Global Diversity Summit. 5,000 attendees. Leaders from every industry. Cameras from every network. The largest gathering of its kind in history. 10 years ago, Marcus began, someone refused to shake my hand. The audience knew the story. Everyone knew the story. She looked at me and saw nothing worth respecting, nothing worth acknowledging, nothing worth a simple gesture of professional courtesy. He paused. In that moment, she showed me exactly who she was, but she also showed me something else. She showed me how many people face that kind of dismissal every day. People who never get a video, never get justice, never get to watch their tormentor face consequences. He clicked to a slide. Numbers. Massive numbers. In the 10 years since that handshake, Whitfield Ventures has invested $6.7 billion in underrepresented founders. We've funded 412 companies. We've created 93,000 jobs. We've built 61 unicorns companies worth over $1 billion. Applause rolled through the auditorium. Our returns have outperformed every major venture fund in the industry. Not despite our focus on diversity because of it. We found talent that others overlooked. We bet on people that others dismissed, and those bets paid off. Spectacularly. He clicked to another slide. Faces. Hundreds of faces. These are our founders. They come from every background, every country, every circumstance. Some grew up wealthy, some grew up in poverty, some went to elite universities, some never finished high school, but they all had one thing in common. He looked at the audience. Someone somewhere told them they didn't belong. Someone looked at them and decided based on appearances, based on assumptions, based on bias that they weren't worth taking seriously. He smiled. Those people were wrong, and we made a fortune proving it. More applause. The woman who refused to shake my hand, she's still out there, working, teaching, trying to undo some of the damage she caused. I don't know if she's changed. Not really. Change takes a lifetime to prove. He paused. But I know this: her hatred was temporary. Our excellence is permanent. Every door she tried to close, we built our own building. Every investment she would have refused, we funded ourselves. Every time someone like her says we don't belong, we create spaces where everyone does. Standing ovation, 5,000 people on their feet. They will underestimate you. Marcus said, his voice rising. Let them. They will dismiss you. Let them. They will decide you're not worth their time, their respect, their handshake. He leaned into the microphone. Let them. And then show them what underestimated looks like when it changes the world. The applause was thunderous, sustained. The kind of applause that felt like more than appreciation. It felt like a movement. Marcus stepped back from the podium, looked out at the sea of faces. Diverse faces. Determined faces. Faces that had heard no and kept going anyway. One face caught his attention. Back corner. Standing alone. Miranda Shaw. Gray hair now. Modest clothes. Invisible among the thousands. She wasn't applauding. She was just watching. Witnessing. Seeing what her cruelty had ultimately created. Marcus held her gaze for a moment. Then he nodded. Just slightly. Just enough. Acknowledgement. Not forgiveness, but acknowledgement. Miranda nodded back. Then she turned and walked out. Quietly, without fanfare. Back to her work. Back to her penance. Back to the endless, invisible effort of becoming someone different. The applause continued behind her. But that wasn't her story anymore. Her story was the warning. The lesson. The proof that choices have consequences. Their story. The story of Jasmine and Kevin and Diego and Marcus and every person who'd been told they didn't belong. Their story was the triumph. And that story would echo long after the applause faded. Because hate is temporary. Excellence is permanent. And the only thing necessary for discrimination to die is for good people to keep building anyway.